It was a Tuesday. I arrived home with my younger brother Brandon and found another note. Working late. Make dinner. I flicked on the television, grabbed a bag of Cheetos, and vaulted on the couch. Then I noticed it. The back door was wide open. My father's shoes, the only pair he had, were sitting on the back porch neatly. I jumped up and walked to the back door, nearly spilling my Cheetos in the process. "Dad?" Receiving no response was surreal. While my father did work a lot, he never once ignored us while he was home. I walked into the yard and waved to Brendan to follow. A crumpled pair of pants lay nearby, and I instantly knew they were my father's. Once again, I called for my father, but got no response. I put Brandon on my shoulders and stepped through the foliage separating the yard from the swamp beyond, and found my father's hat and tie. After 15 minutes I got to an area of the swamp that was peculiar, but I didn't notice until I looked up to see how late it was getting. About 20 feet above us hung men's dress shirts. I counted 16 white, pressed and clean shirts, nailed to trees deep in the Marsh Baywood swamp. It was one of the most disturbing things I'd seen, and I immediately decided to turn and head back. I tried calling once more, and this time I got a response. "She just wants to decorate her new home. I'll be okay. Go home and make your brother some dinner." I spun to see my father climbing a tree a distance ahead, in an area I couldn't travel to because of the water. "Dad, come on, let's go home. You're scaring me." I watched as the skin of his leg caught on a branch, leaving a long scratch that immediately started to bleed. My father ignored it as he kept climbing. "She's going to be mad if you stay. You need to go home. I'm just helping her decorate." He reached into a knot in the side of the tree and pulled out a long metal nail. He leaned against the tree and pressed the tip of the nail to his chest with a smile. "That is good? Oh, I'm so glad." It was as though he was talking to someone, but no one was there except us. "They're leaving. It's okay. You don't need to." He paused. "All right." My younger brother gripped my head and pointed to the water which had begun to bubble. The swamp began to get darker, even though I swore we had another hour of sunlight left. My skin began to crawl as the bubbling became more violent. "I told you she'd be mad. You should leave. Go." My father's voice became more frantic and urgent, though it still had an air of calm happiness. It was like he wanted to yell, but couldn't. My younger brother started to cry as we stared at the bubbling water. A lone hand reached up from its depths. A hand attached to an arm long enough to reach branches higher than I was tall. "Run!" My father's oddly cheery voice again. Another hand burst from the water, followed by another, and another, each of them grabbing branches. Whatever was down there was pulling itself out. "Run!" A low gurgling scream emitted from the water, growing in volume as I watched, transfixed at the amount of hands that were sliding out from beneath the dark waters of the Marsh Baywood swamp. My younger brother was yanking on my hair. He wanted to run, but I couldn't. I was transfixed. "Run!" This time, my father's voice was different. It was urgent, it was frantic, and it was a yell. I immediately snapped out of my trance and turned to run. I could hear the thing behind me trying to give chase through the dense trees. I burst into the backyard and slammed the back door behind me. I put Brandon on the couch and grabbed up a kitchen knife and opened the door to the backyard. But nothing was there, aside from my father's shoes, neatly arranged near the door. My father was never found, and when I took the police back to where I had found my father, the only thing we found were the shirts. The 16 that were there before, 12 new ones, and my father's, hanging neatly by an iron nail.